Paws Academy. It's not just training, it's training that clicks.
Thanksgiving is one of those holidays that fills our home with warmth, laughter, and also delicious smells. So it's time for gratitude, connection, and comfort. But if you share your life with your dogs, you'll know it can also bring a unique set of challenges. Extra guests, tempting food, and sudden bursts of excitement can quickly turn moments into stress for both dogs and us. So my name is Renee. I'm a certified canine behaviourist, the founder of Paws Academy, and you're listening to Barks to Basics, the podcast where we explore calm, practical approaches to understanding dogs and helping them thrive. With over 30 years of working alongside dogs and their families, I've seen countless examples of how small adjustments can make huge differences, especially during the holidays. And today I want to talk to you about how you can make this Thanksgiving safer, calmer, and more enjoyable for both you and your dog. And before we get started, I need to mention something special because we've created a free downloadable guide called Thanksgiving with Dogs, a calm guide to safety and celebration. It's short, it's a beautifully designed leaflet full of practical tips on what foods are safe to eat, how to handle guests, and ways to help your dogs recover from the excitement of the day. It's available completely free on our website, www.thetrainingofdogs.com, and so you can download it and keep it handy as we talk through today's episodes. So let's just really go into this. So I often tell my clients that our dogs don't understand holidays, they understand energy shifts. So for us, Thanksgiving and other holidays means family, laughter, changes in routine. But for them, it's a day where everything suddenly feels really different. The kitchen smells stronger than usual, people are moving around faster, there's noises at the doors, and everyone's attention is divided. And so for a dog, that can be confusing or really even unsettling. So dogs don't think, oh yay, it's Thanksgiving. They think, oh, why are my humans all behaving differently today? And that's where we start to see behaviours that really are just expressions of confusion. So jumping up, barking, stealing food, and in the worst cases, sometimes even hiding. So we worked with a super golden retriever last year. She was called Daisy. She's normally quite calm, but she completely unravelled during her family's festive dinner. They invited about 20 people over, and Daisy, let me tell you, spent the whole entire evening pacing, panting, and then starting to steal napkins off the tables. So her owners were really embarrassed and frustrated, but do you know, Daisy wasn't misbehaving, she was just coping in the situation as she could. So there was too much stimulation, no safe retreat, constant food smells, all this created the perfect storm for her. So knowing how that happened for her for Thanksgiving, we worked with the family and we totally reworked her environment in preparation for Christmas. So we changed a lot of stuff. We gave her a calm corner in their living room. We gave her chews to occupy her frozen Kongs, frozen carrots, and we asked all guests to ignore her until she approached them. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but that tiny change that gave her that choice and safety, this completely transformed her experience. And really this is what either Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter or any of those type holidays are about. It's about creating predictability in a day that otherwise feels really unpredictable to your dog. So preparation makes all the difference. So the day before any holiday, including Thanksgiving, I always recommend checking 3 things: food safety, environment safety, and emotional regulation. So start with food safety because this is one of the most common reasons for emergency vet visits during holidays, and I'm going to go into that detail in a moment, but the short version really is, if it smells amazing to us, it's probably far too rich for our dogs. So then we need to look at environmental management. Where will your dog rest when the kitchen or the dining room becomes too busy? Do they have a quiet retreat? Do you have a gate, a baby gate, a crate, or even a spare room to give them space to relax without them actually feeling excluded? So I'm not talking about chuck them in a room upstairs and shut the door, because that really won't work. I'm sort of thinking of a room, perhaps they can see you, but put a baby gate so that they have their space, but they're not really taken out of the equation, which can also upset them. And then finally, think about emotional regulation. So dogs mirror our energy. So if we're rushing, they feel it. If we're calm, they follow suit. So taking a few minutes to connect before the day starts. So gentle walks, calm cuddles, perhaps even a little training game, say a find it, sniffy games, things like that could set their tone for the whole day. Now, I'm going to move us on to food, because really this is everybody's favourite topic at Thanksgiving, including our dogs. And there's a myth that if your dog's stomach seems fine after stealing turkey or stuffing, it must be safe. But this is a misconception, and it really isn't the case. We need to understand that dogs are opportunists, and sometimes they get lucky, but that luck isn't a safety plan. So here's a simple breakdown that I always like to share with my clients. There are things that are safe that they can have in moderation. So I'm talking plain cooked turkey breast without seasoning or skin, plain vegetables. We're talking green beans, carrots, sweet potatoes. Maybe even like plain pumpkin puree, but we're not talking pie filling here. And you could also throw in some small mashed potatoes, but that cannot contain butter, salt or cream. And going on from that, unsafe or toxic foods, please don't give your dogs cooked bones. They can splinter so easily and then get stuck. Turkey skin, gravy, onions, garlic, stuffing, some types of sausage meat. They can't have chocolate, raisins, grapes, anything that contains like sugar-free ingredients are not really great for them. Rich desserts, pies, alcohol, dairy, heavy dishes, all a quick no-no. So let me just digress quickly with a quick story, because a few years ago, one of our clients called me in panic. Their dog Max, he'd eaten leftover stuffing, and within hours, he was really lethargic and sick. And the culprit in that was the onions and the sage. So they are perfectly harmless for us, but they can be so toxic for dogs. Now, thankfully, Max went to the vets really quickly. The veterinary treatment meant he made a full recovery. But it's a reminder, prevention really is easier than cure. So if you want your dog to join in, and that's absolutely fine, my recommendation is creating them a dog-safe plate before dinner. So you're talking plain turkey, vegetables, maybe that spoon of pumpkin, and serve it in their bed or their crate while you eat. So it's going to keep your dog content, distracted and safe. And please don't forget about bins. Because again, if I go back to dogs being opportunists, they can get in the bin. They might be getting foil, bones, cling film, all of that stuff smells irresistible. So make sure you secure that rubbish before your dog, say, gets really creative with it. And then, so if we move from the table, say now to the front door, which I know is probably going to be before you get to the table, but let's look at the front door. This is a hot spot for excitement. So guests can be tricky, and I mean that in the nicest way when I say this. Guests can be tricky. So some dogs adore attention, others find it really stressful. The goal is not to change who your dog is, but to create conditions where they feel safe being themselves. So before guests arrive, brief your household. Who's in charge of the door? Who's making sure the dog doesn't bolt? It sounds really simple, but assigning these clear roles early on can help make everything so much calmer. Again, if you've got your dog behind a baby gate and they can't get to the front door, that's another problem solved. And also, if your dog is nervous or excitable, have a plan. So that calm activity like a chew or a lick mat in another room may work wonders. For dogs that love people but forget their names, again, think about leads, baby gates to allow polite introductions. And when I sometimes go out and visit homes, or I speak to my clients, we often talk about well-meaning guests, but they just overwhelm the dogs with affection. They dive straight in and they're like, oh, hi, how are you? And they're right in their face. So it's really difficult to do. The fix is simple, but it's very difficult to do. I understand that. What we need to be able to do is ask our visitors to ignore the dog until the dog chooses to say hello. That choice is going to build confidence and trust. And remember, if children are visiting, explain that the dog bed is a no-go zone. This is their safe place. It's their version of like closing the door, but they're still able to see us. So these small boundaries, these are going to create that calm consistency. And this is exactly what our dogs are going to thrive on. And I really ought to talk about, when we're talking about these types of days, stress, overstimulation, and how to recover. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because sometimes this part is really overlooked. So we sort of know how easily the day can become overstimulating. You've got music, laughter, the smell of food everywhere. But remember here that our dog's senses are about 40 times stronger than our own, and their nervous system responds instantly to those changes in tone, body language, and scent. So your dog's signs of stress can be really subtle here. They could be yawning when they're not tired, look for lip licking, turning away, pacing, hiding under a table. These aren't signs of disobedience. They're signs of effort where your dog is trying to cope. Now, hiding on a table is going to be a lot more easy to spot than, say, noticing your dog yawning, their head turning away. But try and keep your eye out, especially if you've got an anxious or more nervous dogs, for some of these subtle signs before they sort of have to feel like they need to go and hide under the table. And when you notice these signals, don't rush to fix them. What you want to do instead is soften the environment, lower your voice, slow your movement, and offer distance. Let your dog retreat to that safe zone. And one of my favourite tools for this is what I like to call a calm kit. So it's a small basket or a small box that has chews, soft toys, a blanket sprayed lightly with their favourite calming scent, maybe even like your jumper so that it's got your scent on it for them. So when things are getting busy, you can bring this kit out and let your dog or your puppy settle with something familiar. And then after the event, give your dog what I like to call a recovery day. So don't say Thanksgiving is one day and the next day, take them out to the forest, take them out to the beach, run them ragged. That won't actually help them recover. So what you want to do is minimal training, perhaps a gentle, calm walk with lots of sniffing, 0 new visitors if you can, because you just want to give them that calm space to basically decompress from the day before. And the goal here is to help their nervous system come back to a baseline and not go into anything that we would call trigger stacking. So behaviourally, we know that calm routines activate the vagus nerve. And very simply, this is the part of the body that helps restore rest and digestion after stress. It's basically, think of it as like the biological foundation for relaxation. And just like people, dogs can't listen or learn effectively when their nervous system goes into that overload. So the morning after Thanksgiving, you might notice that your dog seems quieter than usual or clingier. And this is perfectly normal because their body is recalibrating after that day of stimulation. So as I said, use that day to reset. Offer those sniffing walks rather than huge walks or massive training sessions, and keep the pace slow. Let them sleep. And then also take a moment to reflect. So ask yourself things like, which moments went well? Where did things feel stressful? Could we plan something differently next time? And when we start to look at holidays this way, not as a test, but more as feedback, every single year is going to get easier for you. You're going to learn what works for your dog, what works for you. And your dog learns that big family days like this, they can be safe, predictable, and, even enjoyable for them. So before I finish, I just want to leave you with this thought. Thanksgiving is all about gratitude. And for those of us who share our lives with our dogs, gratitude often looks like understanding. Understanding that our dogs aren't being stubborn. If they're struggling, they're communicating. Understanding that small adjustments like giving space or preparing safe food can make such a world of difference. And understanding that safety and calm are gifts we can give our dogs every single day. And don't forget, if you want to explore this topic in more detail, we've got our free guide, Thanksgiving with Dogs, a calm guide to safety and celebration, available now at www.thetrainingofdogs.com. It is completely free and it's filled with visual checklists and quick tips you can use year after year. So as I said at the start, my name is Renee. I'm the founder of Paws Academy and the host of this podcast, Barks to Basics. Thank you so much for supporting trusted and ethical training and for caring enough to make your dog's well-being every part of the celebration. From me and all of the team at Paws Academy, we wish you a calm, safe and happy Thanksgiving.
At Paws Academy, it's not just training, it's training.